Good evening, viewers, or whatever time of day it is where you are. This is George from Ireland again. So now I'm going to explain to you why, for my money, A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man is the most fantastic novel of all time. Here it is. This is one of many editions. There on the front cover you see the writer, James Joyce. So the author's there wearing his trademark glasses, which he wore from a very early age. And indeed, his broken glasses is a seminal episode in the book. Let me see. I first read this when I was 16, and it had a profound influence on me. And some of the scenes described in the book occurred when he was that age. It's, so far as I know, the first book to blend fiction and autobiography. It was groundbreaking in that way, as well as many others. It's one of the first modernist novels. That's to say that the character's development matters more than the plot. It's a book that starts when he's an infant. He's in the cradle. The very first sentence is, "Once upon a time, and a very good time it was, there was a moo cow coming down along the road. And this moo cow that was coming down along the road met a nice little boy named Baby Toku." And the way that sentence begins was a typical way to begin a story for an Irish infant at the time. Joyce came from a bourgeois Catholic family, and I did too, though I was born almost 100 years after him, and that's why I felt I could identify with him to some extent. His family life was very disrupted. They were always moving around, and it was quite similar for me. So again, this made the novel mean a great deal to me. It goes from his babyhood up until the age of about 20, when he graduated from University College Dublin and he left Ireland. They visited occasionally, he never returned. It's a Bildungsroman, which is a German term of art to mean a novel about one individual's journey through life. It's modernist so far as it doesn't mind repeating words. It doesn't go for an abstruse vocabulary. He'll use the same word several times in a paragraph in different places within different sentences, as in, it might be the first, it might be in the middle of a sentence next time, it might be towards the end. He'll jumble around words he's earlier used. He doesn't mind repeating himself for the sake of emphasis. Writers prior to that would have considered that very poor form. It's got many historical allusions, and it's got many references to religious figures, because he had an intensely religious education. Let me see. So every word is le mot juste, in my opinion. It's just unimprovable. He wrote very few novels, but he crafted them and recrafted them to make sure it was not a single word too long or too short. It's actually quite brief as they go. He doesn't tell everything. He selects the most impactful scenes. It's paired. It's fast-moving. So it recounts his spiritual odyssey from a fervently religious Catholic to an atheist, which around 1900 was very shocking. He said he was pushed around by two empires, the British Empire and the Catholic Church. So the novel is not served on a plate. There is much implication. A reader must infer for himself or herself what the author is driving at. I found it enthralling. It's a lot of it's internal monologue. There's some dialogue with his friends. There's a lot of intellectual sparring. It's very emotional. The whole thing is bursting with vitality. There's a full range of feelings in it. There is woe as well as joy. He undergoes a sexual awakening. He starts going to prostitutes. There are many classical allusions in it, and also he talks about various saints and sinners and hellfire, things like that, purgatory, and that's what makes it terrifying in places. It's very graphic, and he also satisfies all the sentences in his description, so he limns things in an exceptionally vivid manner. And he writes about hell because that was the intellectual backdrop that he was going through. At school, the priest who taught him would describe hell in immense and very frightening detail. So this book is challenging, and it's not mystifying like some of his later works, Finnegan's Wake. I think it's his magnum opus. and it doesn't try to be too clever at the same time. Be helpful to read a version with footnotes which will tease out some of the things he's hinted at. Comes to reject nationalism. He leaves Ireland. Ireland's preserved an aspect for him, and Dublin in particular is the locale of all his later works. So I very strongly recommend you read this book. You'll probably find it as gripping as I did.